Good day, everyone. My name is Jake Senyeres, and welcome to another day here at the Carousell Property Expo. I have two questions for you. Are you in that place of your life when you are ready to flee the nest? How about are you ready to take that bold move to finally live in your own place? If yes, then this question will surely run through your mind. Should I buy or should I rent? That's exactly what we'll be talking about on today's session. There is a fair share of consideration factors, of course, when choosing the right step to take when owning or renting a property. The thought process varies from one situation to another, and hopefully today we can help you narrow down the important points so you can make the best decision according to your needs and according to your requirements. To help us answer all these questions is financial literacy advocate who openly talks about her finances online to encourage Filipinos to improve their views about money. She actually vlogs about this on her YouTube channel, which has 25 videos to date since last year. She also worked as a licensed certified public accountant and a certified management accountant for a number of multinational companies. Everybody watching, let's all welcome a proud member of the Caro fam or Carousel family, or better known as Maven and Money. Hello, Maven. Welcome to the live stream.
Hi, Jake. Hi to all of the property seekers who are tuned in today to the Carousell Property Online Expo. Again, I'm Maven. I'm a personal finance vlogger and part of Caro Fam. And it's my honor to join you guys here today to get to know the different property types for every type of person.
Right. Thank you, Maven, for joining us. We actually have a very, very interesting topic for today. So if you're ready, maybe let's proceed.
Sure, let's go.
All right. Thanks, Maven. So your content centers on personal finance, right? How did you get into YouTube? And maybe you can tell us how it started.
Yeah, so actually, I've been blogging about my net worth journey, the investments that I get into, and other financial stuff since
Mhm.
2015. And since last year during the pandemic, a lot of us went online, and more people are geared towards virtual things. Then I thought I should step up also and put a live and kicking persona to the content that I make. Ironically, while our internet infrastructure isn't really the best here in Philippines, people still tend to lean towards YouTube to satisfy their entertainment and also their learning needs. And that's what really prompted me to say, okay, Maven, let's do this. Let's get into YouTube and share things that I think are important because money is important and we Filipinos should talk more about money, and that's how Maven and Money was born.
Great. So you mentioned no yung origins ng YouTube channel mo. Maybe we can dive a little deeper into the meaning of Maven and Money. So correct me if I'm wrong here. Kasi ay, ang understanding ko sa Maven, sa meaning ng Maven is that an expert of or a connoisseur of. So is it safe to assume that Maven and Money means expert and money? Is that correct?
Yeah, so that's definitely the intention, although I don't consider myself as like the best or the expert now. It is an aspiration for myself as well. And I actually just find the word maven as something that you can pass as a real name. But yeah, in reality, it's not my real name, and it's more a persona that I want to embody. Someone who knows a lot about finances,
Right.
and someone who constantly learns about it to share with other people as well.
Right, great. That's a modest and straightforward answer, but there's also full of self-confidence there. So thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. I'm a generally curious person, and I'm sure our viewers here on this live stream are very curious as well. But maybe we can talk about personal finances naman since this is the topic, right? Kasi napaka-importante niyan. Lalo na when it comes to property. Our viewers here today for sure have questions like, should I buy or should I rent? Should I get a loan? Maybe can you help us walk through the consideration factors on buying versus renting out property?
Yeah, so that's correct, Jake. No, our property decisions are extremely important, and on a financial perspective, that's also because buying a property or paying for rent for a property forms a sizable chunk of where our money goes. And again, that goes for both buying and renting. Because if you buy a property, that will be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, asset purchase of your life. And similarly, if you rent a property, the monthly rent expense most probably is the single biggest cash outflow you commit to on a regular basis, maybe say 20 to 40% of your monthly salary.
Right.
So that brings me directly to what I consider are the factors to our property seekers. So at this point, I'd like to share a deck that I've prepared. It's just a few slides
Wow.
for us to be guided on the factors that we should consider. Yeah, so for the property seekers out there, these are things that you should consider when you're
Mhm.
planning to move out of the nest soon. And number one of that is their budget. Again, I'm not saying this just because I'm a numbers nerd, but money definitely influences a lot of our options. So, in this
Mhm.
discussion, I also want to debunk the myth that renting is a waste of money because that's not exactly the case
Right.
always. So, let's do that by examining the cash outflow that you need to be ready for when you buy or rent a property. So, on
Mhm.
the next slide, we'll go through the cash outflows when you buy a property. So, in this example, let's just say you buy a property, it's a 4 million 40 square meter condo within Metro Manila. Our property developers usually require 10 to 20% down payment for you to move in. And this could be spot, meaning you pay upfront, or it could be staggered over a period of like 12 months. So, regardless, this means that in a span of a year, you still have to pay 400 to 800,000 for you to start living in a property of your own. And aside from this, in your first year of purchasing a property, you need to pay for home loan processing fees and turnover fees with your developer. And that also adds on to your cash outlay, say another 3 to 5% of the property price for that.
Wow. Okay.
So now, once you're done with all the one time costs, your monthly amortization will then kick in.
Uh-huh.
So this amount you can actually accurately figure out by checking yung home loan calculators of the banks. So with that, you simply input the property price, the down payment, your preferred number of years to pay, and it will tell you how much you will be paying as amortizations every month. So in here, actually, it also gives you an idea what salary you need in order to support paying for that monthly amortization.
Right. Okay. Actually, I have for sure we have viewers here who have pretty much yung kunyari, salary nila is about 30 to 50K a month, no? So, saktong-sakto I think yung timing natin. We talked about amortizations, no? Yung mga one-time costs. So, for those people who roughly have that same salary range, um, do you have any advice for them? How do you know which one is for them to rent or to buy?
Yeah, so actually merong sinasabing rule of thumb, I think, na
Mm.
yon the monthly rent should be around uh at maximum maybe 30% of your salary for you to afford that. But if you really want accurate figures also, you can check yung home loan calculators. That's
Oh,
specifically when you're planning to buy a property. Yeah, because that's already kind of a credit check wherein the bank will determine that if you're earning this much, say again, like what you mentioned, it's 30K or it's 50K, then it will suggest to you na, okay, with that salary, you can actually afford, say, a 5 million condo or an 8 million condo. So it's really that simple. Maybe
Hmm.
it's something that not a lot of people would know about, but it's
Yeah.
actually a very insightful tool. So for all those who are still wondering um, how, if they can afford or not a property, then seriously check that out because it's really a helpful tool coming from the banks as well.
Right. I know I will. I didn't know about that, Maven. So thank you for sharing. May tututunan ako kaagad. So thank you. Thank you so much for answering that question. No. What about yung mga tao talaga na talagang who really want to start right away? Is it safe to assume that yung home loans calculator na yan would be basically their first step talaga just to gauge what to do in this situation if talagang they really want to explore and flee the nest na nga, if you will.
Yeah, I would
Mhm.
say because meron pa tayong mga other factors to determine in the next slides for you to
Right.
really figure out if you are ready to buy to buy a property
Right.
or rent a property. But basically, what's really important, I would say, is figuring out your cash flow
Right.
because at the end of it all, I do think that the the total money you put out when you buy or when you rent are kind of the same in the long run. Pero
Mhm.
yung timing then are different. So again, when you buy, meron nitong mga one-time costs such as the down payment and the
Right.
closing fees. Um, and also, if we go back to the previous slide earlier, um, we also have the monthly amortizations.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. And then there are also maintenance costs which you pay for in perpetuity. Unlike when you rent, na it's a straightforward, you pay 2 months deposit, 1 month advance, and then just pay rent. Kaso meron ding disadvantage to that because you pay for your entire life. So
Mhm.
maybe at this point, I'll just go back to the second point in terms of the cash outflow when you buy, and that is your monthly amortization. So again, going back to our example for the property that we purchase, let's say the monthly amortization is 30,000 a month, and actually based on experience, that could be higher than the rent for the same condo, and that's because you're paying for interest. But the
Right.
beauty of buying, especially when you're still young, is that after your loan period, say 10 to 15 years, you'll
Yeah.
now be free of this monthly sizable cash outflow. So in your 40s or 50s, you don't have to worry anymore of having a monthly source of income to put a roof over your head. You have a home till your old age. And another perk of this is that you can turn this over to your children or
Yeah.
dependents eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically planning ahead. That's perfect, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that
Okay.
is
Okay.
a
Mm.
perk of buying your own property.
Mm.
However, there is one thing that you have to pay forever, and that is taxes. So, as they say, there are only two certainties in life, and those are death and taxes. And yeah, annually, you have to pay the government real property taxes, which is 2% of the assessed value.
Okay.
So, that's specifically for properties within Metro Manila. And assessed value is not necessarily the market value. So it's not really that much, but it is a recurring forever expense. So, di ba? May forever talaga. And aside from this, you also have to pay association fees. So association fees are not only applicable for condominiums, but it's applicable for any type of managed property, such as villages or subdivisions, because you're paying for the facilities, the amenities that the community uses. So on top of these also are maintenance
Mm.
costs, the upkeep of your property, along with insurances for
Mhm.
fire or other damages, which could be optional, but insurance counters the risk of you losing the whole value of your property if in case something unexpected happens. So it's also kind of important as well. So maybe that's a lot, but just to quickly recap, if you buy a property, number one, there is a sizable initial outflow. Number two, the monthly amortization includes a payment of interest, meaning
Mhm.
it could be higher than when you rent the same unit, diba? So in our example, it's 30K. Maybe renting that property is just 25K.
Right.
And number three, you have maintenance and other costs that are for life.
Right.
So yeah, I just wanted to um, emphasize that because, again, usually we hear people saying that renting a property is a waste of money, but
Hmm.
buying a property is also quite difficult. It entails a lot of um, it entails a lot of deep understanding of your finances and your
Right.
situation for you to commit to that permanent thing.
Hmm. Okay.
So, on the next slide, we talk more about renting because, again, it's super important to take note of these because when you rent, at most, your cash outlay is just the 2 months deposit and 1 month advance. Then you just pay monthly rent and you're good to go, diba?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
will that make you feel na renting is actually a totally acceptable setup because when you rent, you're actually paying for the service of
Uh-huh.
someone managing that property and its upkeep for you while you
Yeah.
just pay a monthly price to enjoy it. So, 'di ba, knowing everything a homeowner goes through, you'd actually think that what you pay for in rent is sulit or worth it, 'di ba?
Yeah.
Um, but renting doesn't really come without the disadvantages.
Hmm.
And while the monthly rent, as I mentioned earlier, might be lower than your amortization, it can also be subject to annual increase by as much as 11% a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so and if you don't have your own property, that means you have to pay rent in perpetuity. And that's going to be tricky for when you're already retired, since here in the Philippines, our pension is quite tiny. So, again,
Mm-mm.
the decision to buy a rent is definitely a matter of having mastery of your finances. In
Okay.
summary, I'd like to think na yun nga, in the long run, it just really equals out. So, it's really about your preferences and timing, which
Yeah.
actually leads me to the second factor that I'd like our property seekers to consider, and that is our timeline. So, in the next few slides,
Mm.
um,
Okay.
we need to ask ourselves the question, where do you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 to 10 years? And hindi lang siya for career. It's really also for when you're determining whether you want to buy or rent a property. So it's really
Correct.
important to figure out. So in the next slide, side by side, we're going to talk about the considerations for when you want to buy or rent a property. So, onto the buy side first. The thing about buying a property is that it means you're buying into the location in a kind of permanent way. So, you have to be certain that the location is somewhere you're comfortable to live in for a long period of time. Again, since it takes a lot of time and effort to purchase a property, you wouldn't really want to move every now and then. And if you're uncertain where you will be in the next 3 to 5 years, it's not worth the effort to settle down, then uproot yourself and your whole family, if any, and in case work or other opportunities present to you. So usually buying a property are for those who are at that stage of life now when you see yourself spending more time at home, like di
Mhm.
ba in this pandemic then.
Mm.
So, on the other hand, when you rent a property, it gives you flexibility to move when necessary.
Right.
So, yung contract usually is just for 1 year or even less. And if you're a person who's open to relocation, for example, or you're just adventurous and you'd like to, the idea of trying out other places and exploring new locations, and renting might actually be better for you. So, usually, when you rent, you're also at that stage of life when you're not looking for a lot of things in your home. You're just good with the basic necessities because you're always on the go anyway. So when you rent, you actually potentially have more time to focus on other matters like your career or your business. And that means you can also grow your earning potential, which can eventually afford you uh, your dream home if you haven't really found that yet. So it also buys you time actually. So I know what goes on in the mind of property seekers kasi ganun din naman ako.
Mhm.
I've also been a property seeker, and I know at times you just really want to make the jump and live independently,
Yeah.
start
Oo.
a family, 'di ba? And that's perfectly normal. And those are definitely things that need to be considered with your property decisions. So I encourage everyone to really spend some time alone or with your partner to determine where you are right now in terms of your goals and priorities, because that really influences whether you're ready to commit to buying your own property or you prefer the flexibility of renting a space.
Wow, okay. That was a very, very insightful slide, Maven. So, in a nutshell, there's a few things that you have to consider, depending on what you need and depending on your situation, whether to buy or to rent. You have to ask yourself the question, parang, where do you see yourself in 3, 5, or 10 years? After that, you communicate with your partner, with your family, or maybe just ask yourself the question, ano yung dapat mong gawin? So you could plan it out. Tama? Tama ba, Maven?
Yes, that's super correct, Jake. You captured it in a nutshell.
Right. Awesome. I'm learning. I'm learning, and I hope our viewers as well. Actually, for sure, that was a very, very concise slide. Okay.
All
So,
right.
yeah.
So I think we've covered a lot, but let me just go to the last factor for our property seekers to consider, and that is on the next slide. We're gonna talk about yung considerations for your lifestyle. So when we talk about buying or renting, it's usually buying a house and lot in the province or renting a condo in the city. That's just a natural combination because now it's quite difficult and
Mm,
expensive to buy land within the metro. And
yeah.
people flock to the provinces for a chance to own a piece of land at a price point that they can afford. On the other hand, the decision to rent often comes because of the need to be within Metro Manila, whether it be for work, for school, or simply to gain access to modern infrastructure and urban living, but kind of on a temporary basis. So, buying a property actually makes a lot of sense for people who are settling down and building their own family. So, just having a space where you have freedom to control your life is essential, especially when you're a parent or even a fur parent. You will have that choice to build your dream home and in a style or design that suits your taste. And
Right.
again, there's something sentimental, di ba? When you have a land and potentially a larger one at that, where the kids and pets can roam around and be active. So on the other hand, renting, as we said earlier, offers that convenience naman that you usually wouldn't need to worry about repairs or maintenance, but it
Mhm.
also comes with a lot of limitations because again, commonly people rent in condos or smaller spaces within Metro Manila, and that
Right.
means yeah, less room to expand your family. And
Mhm.
also the landlords and property managers have a say on what you can and cannot do for a rented space. And even like simple matters like the color of your curtains. So yeah, to just wrap it up, Jake, and for our viewers to easily remember, the three factors are
Okay.
budget, timeline, and lifestyle. So that's BTL.
Wow, ganda. BTL. That's so easy to remember, Maven, no? It's very, smooth like butter.
Oo nga eh. Pilit ko sana na BTS,
Well,
pero
sana pinit na. Well, sana. But actually, Maven, no, thank you for sharing, yung slides na yun. and sharing your expertise as well, no, as the maven of of money, no. Actually, I have a question for you personally, no. Our sources say that you also just bought a condo of your own not too long ago. Maybe can you share how that experience was for you and what made you decide to buy your own place?
Yeah. Okay, so maybe just a quick backstory, before I purchased my own condo, my family have been renting for like 28 years in Quezon City because that's where I and my brother and cousin studied. And they just recently moved to Rizal in my Lola's own house. And even when I started working, I rented a lot in the CBDs, in Paranaque, in BGC, and I've even tried condo sharing. Um,
Mhm.
but so just 2 years ago, I decided to purchase my own property. This is different pa from the property that I bought for investment, which I'm currently renting out. So
Right.
now I'm staying here within Pasig, and it's a more complicated decision process because this is a property which I co-purchased with my partner. So, di ba, yung
Mm.
budget, timeline, lifestyle, that all has to align between the two of you para talagang mapagdesisyonan na, okay, we're good to purchase a property. And yeah, I actually documented a lot of these in the vlogs that I created
Right.
in my YouTube channel. So, I hope you guys can also check those out.
Right, right. Thank you, Maven, for enlightening our viewers and sharing your insights as well. Personally, I liked how you condensed everything into like a very, very simple acronym, no? Budget, timeline, and lifestyle. Plus my visuals ka pa. So that was very insightful, very detailed. Thank you for your time. We actually prepared a summary slide for all our viewers to make sure that they don't miss on the key takeaways for today's session with Maven and Money. So everyone tuned in to this live stream, let's take a look at the slide, okay? All right, there you go. Our learnings from Maven and Money. Maven, do you have any last advice to our viewers? You may also invite them to follow you on social media in case they might have any more questions for you about today's discussion.
Yes. So again, thank you, Jake, and thank you, Carousel family, for giving me this opportunity to share my insights into purchasing or renting a property. My final tip for you guys is really to explore and study the property industry because there's a lot to learn, just by browsing through Carousel and checking out all the options for properties, whether you are renting or you're planning to buy your own property. Ang dami mong maiintindihan out of becoming a lessee or a property owner if you just scroll through Carousel and check out what others have in offer for you in terms of property. And if you guys want to see more of me, I am in YouTube, Maven and Money. So
Right.
you can just search for me there, and you can check out my other videos about property as well and other money matters. So I hope
Great.
you guys check that out and subscribe.
Ayan, ganda, ganda. That's very thank you for reminding everybody to browse through Carousel and of course to subscribe to our YouTube channel, no? Kasi everybody, it's the last day. So make sure to check out our next sessions and try out different activities here happening here at Carousel Property Expo. So Maven, thank you very much for your time, okay? Ayan. So everybody, let's not forget to browse through Carousel Property, like what Maven said, to find out about the widest selection of properties to choose from that will satisfy every person's needs and every person's budget. In Carousel Property, there's every type of home for every type of person. Again, my name is Jake Sanyeres. Have a great day, everybody. Stay safe and stay tuned for the next webinars kasi marami pa tayong matututunan dito sa Carousel. Bye, everyone. Thank you. We would like to thank our partners and our sponsors for today, RLC Residences, Aboitis Land, Island Properties, Solar Resources, Inquirer Mobile, Digiscript, The Hand Creative, Philippine Daily Inquirer, Philippine Star,